Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I get this question all of the time from viewers that specifically pertains to if I could only choose one rod and reel combo, what would it be? And the question isn't necessarily geared toward this specific rod and reel, but really it comes down to what are the specs on that rod? What type of rod is it? What's the length? What's the action? What's the power? And what type of reel would you put on it? Because there's a lot of individuals out there that are really looking just to purchase one rod and reel, and they want it to be versatile. They want it to be able to be used with so many different techniques, because you can't just pick up a frog rod and use that for everything. Like a frog rod's a very specialized technique rod. A big glide bait rod is the same. Or you could say you're going to go with a fiberglass rod that you like to use for crankbaits. Well, I don't want to go flip with a fiberglass rod because it's not going to work that well. So I want to share with you guys my favorite rod and reel combo. I think it's one of the most versatile ones that I have. You know, I keep probably 20 rod and reels in my boat at most times. Almost all of them are geared towards specific baits and techniques. But there's probably 2 or 3 rod and reel combos that are in the boat that I've got multiple sets of because they are extremely versatile. So those are the ones that I'm going to share with you, because these are the rod and reel combos that, in my opinion, if you're going out to the store and you want to buy a rod and reel right now, these are ones that you're going to be able to use with the majority of techniques and the majority of baits that are on the market. And they're going to help you catch more fish because you're using a rod that is not built for those techniques. You're using a rod that can be used for all of these techniques, and that's what's important. So let's get right into this. The question that I've been getting is, give me one rod and reel combo. Well, guys, I'm gonna give you 2, because I've got one baitcaster and one spinning rod, and they're so technique different for me that I can't just give you one rod that's gonna cover the gamut for everything. So I'm gonna give you one spinning rod and reel setup. I'm gonna give you one baitcasting rod and reel setup. Before I do get into those, guys, I want to remind you that I've got a bunch of new lake breakdowns that have gone up on the Fish the Moment website. So if you're looking for some help on some of the lakes in your area, check those out. The link is in the description. Also, if you want to support the channel, guys, please use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link to purchase your tackle. There's a small portion of that gets kicked back to the channel, and I use that to pay for all the different products and the things that I talk about on the channel, as well as all the gear that I use to shoot the videos. So it's very much appreciated when you use that. All right, so let's get into these rod and reel combos. Now keep in mind, I build my own rods, so you're not going to be able to go buy these specific rods. These are MHX blanks that I build through mudhole.com. The reality here is, guys, I'm not trying to tell you which specific rod to go out and buy. I'm just trying to give you the specs, the length, the power, the action of a rod that you can go out and find from your favorite brand. You could go out and build if you wanted to, but ideally these are going to be very common rods that most rod companies build in their arsenal of rods. So it's more about a matter of taking these specs, and you can go out and purchase them at the store or on the websites or a Tackle Warehouse if you're looking for one. But they are probably some of the most common rod sizes and blanks out there because of the versatility. So let's get into this one. This right here is an NSJ 871 by Mudhole. So what does that mean? Okay, well, this is a medium light 1-power rod that's 7 foot 3 inches long. This is what I would consider an extremely versatile spinning rod. It's a medium light, so it's not a heavy action rod, but I would use this for drop shots, Ned rigs, spy baits, small swim baits, wacky rigs. Almost any presentation that you would think of that's a finesse presentation, because that's what I use my spinning rods for. I very rarely use a spinning rod for something other than a finesse presentation. So this to me is about what you're looking for. It's got the length to make long casts with light baits, being that it's 7 foot 3. It's not got a huge backbone on it, but it's got the power to drive home your smaller finesse hooks. So your drop shots, your Ned rigs, things that most of the time have an exposed hook as it is, so you don't need much power. When you're talking about light wire hooks, you're just applying pressure. At that point, you apply pressure, those small hooks just bury right into the fish's mouth, so you're good to go. So I really think what you're looking for in a versatile spinning rod is a 7 foot to 7 foot 3. I personally like a 7.3 rod. That's a medium light fast action rod. Now, for some of you that like to have a little bit more backbone, I might up that to a 2-power rod, which is still going to be on the verge of a medium light, maybe a light medium. But the reality is here, you know, it's still a light enough action rod where you can throw your drop shots, your wacky rigs, your Ned rigs, spy baits, small swim baits, all of the stuff that you generally would throw on a spinning rod. You can do that. From a reel standpoint, this is the Abu Garcia Revo Rocket, which is a fast gear ratio reel. I really like it for a couple of reasons, and if you made me choose just one reel, it's got a lot of things about it that I like, and it all comes down to how fast it picks up line. It's such a fast gear ratio reel for a spinning reel. I believe it's the fastest spinning reel out there in terms of how much line it picks up per reel turn. That I like that because when I'm making casts or drop shotting, you know, a lot of times if I'm drop shotting, if I'm in 25 feet of water and I'm just fishing vertical, I like to be able to reel that line up quick, pitch it out to, you know, the next target that I want to cast to. But the reality is it allows me to pick up line at a very quick rate, which for me is important because every little bit of line that I can pick up allows me to make additional casts throughout the day. So when I'm in a tournament, if I'm using a Revo Rocket, which allows me to get 10 extra casts in by the end of the day, just based on how fast I can reel in baits, that's important because that could lead up to fish. Now, I don't necessarily always recommend this just for beginners because there is so much more torque when you turn the reel that it actually feels more like like the reel handle stiffer. It's like being in high gear on a bike. When you go to turn the pedal, it takes more effort to turn the pedal. So I think for most anglers out there, a normal basic spinning reel that's like a 6.3, something along those lines in gear ratio would be fine. But if you're really trying to get a little bit of advantage, the Revo Rocket's a great way to go about it. And it's something that once you start using it, you just get used to it. And you don't even recognize that, you know, it takes a little bit more to turn the handle. So that's my spinning setup. From a bait cast setup, this is one of my all-time favorite rods that I build. Again, it's an MHX blank. It's an NMB 873. So what that means is, again, it's a 7-foot 3 rod that's a 3-power, and it's a medium heavy fast action rod. So to me, this is a really good length in that it's a 7.3 because you can do almost anything with this rod. You know, I'll use it for hair jigs, as you can see. I'll use it for throwing lipless crankbaits. I'll throw crankbaits on it. I'll throw spinner baits on it, swim jigs, swim baits. I'll pitch with this. This is one of my favorite light pitching rods where if I'm pitching a 1/4 ounce little finesse jig, or I'm pitching, say, a 3/16 ounce stick bait, Texas rig stick bait around, this rod works great for it. So for me, I love it because it's that versatile. Like, so when if somebody gives me a call and says, hey Matt, let's go fishing, and I may be, you know, somewhere else at a, like a wedding or something, and I bring one rod with me, this is the rod I'm gonna bring because it's so versatile. I don't wanna bring a whole bunch of rods with me if I'm just gonna head out to a pond at a wedding, right? So the idea here is you want something that's going to cover a lot of different gamuts, be extremely versatile, and that's where a 7.3 medium heavy fast action bait casting rod works wonders. It's probably one of the most sold rod sizes out there, and like I said, all companies out there they're all going to offer something from 7 to 7.3 medium heavy fast action rod because of how popular they are and how versatile they are. From a reel standpoint, this is an Abu Garcia Revo MGX. This is a little faster. It's an 8.0 to 1. Again, that comes down to picking up a lot of line on the reel turn. It's not so fast where the torque is a little bit harder, where I might want that for something more along the lines of pitching or frogging. But the reality is it's just a good all-around fast speed reel that's going to allow me to fish all of these presentations that I can fish on this rod effectively. If I went with a gear ratio reel that was too slow, that I may prefer for, say, fishing crankbaits, that may not work as well if I wanted to bump up to a chatterbait or bump up to a hair jig or something like that. So I would rather always go with a faster gear ratio reel that's going to pick up more line per reel turn, because it's easier for me to slow down versus trying to burn this handle as fast as I can, which at times I'm not even going to be able to burn the bait back in as fast as I can because I literally can't turn the reel handle fast enough. So it's easier for me to slow down versus trying to really speed up. So if you could only have one bait casting setup or one spinning rod setup, rod and reel combo, this is what I like. Put in the comment section what you like so that others can learn from you, because there may be other people out there that fish similar to how you do and they don't necessarily fish similar to how I do. So I'll be curious to see what you guys have to offer as well. But really here, the biggest takeaway is to choose a rod and reel that is going to be versatile in that it allows you to fish as many different techniques and baits as possible, because that's what will make that rod so useful to you. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. I appreciate the questions that I get. Hopefully I answered the questions that you guys have had. And thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and stay tuned. We'll have another video coming out tomorrow.